The Addicts get an excellent point at Ashton Gate in a game that really we should have won. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the From the Valley Flow podcast. Post-match review. Charlton 0, Bristol City 0. My name's Callum. I will be your host. Well, that was one of the better 0-0s that I've seen in a little while. It wasn't a classic by any stretch. Neither side were massively threatening for huge amounts of it. But as a Charlton fan, I was really quite impressed by our performance. I think Nathan Jones got that spot on in the post-match comments when he said we were absolutely magnificent. And if we play like that away from home most weeks, then we should be absolutely fine in the 25-26 championship season. I want to sort of look back on the game. I think there are a couple of really key moments. The VTech save in the second half is genuinely world-class. I'm not sure. I mean, some reports saying it came off Tyrese Campbell. Some are saying it came off his own player. Whatever it was, it's an exceptional stop. Got to get down, get a finger to it. Kane Ramsey first half with an excellent tackle, really sort of Aaron Wan-Bissaka-esque in his prime at Palace. So his pomp at Palace, I guess, maybe not his prime before his £50 million move to Man United. But I was really impressed by the way in which we played that game. We didn't sit back and put 11 men behind the ball. It wasn't sort of shut up shop and hope for something. We did compete. We did push up. We did try to push high. I thought Tyrese Campbell was good on that sort of pressing side. I thought Sonny Carey was kind of buzzing around all over the place. Maybe didn't get on the ball quite as much as you like your number 10 to, but I thought that in the press, in terms of the formation, I thought he was very good. I thought Charlie Callum, as much as he just hasn't gotten the service in those first two games, as much as I still think he looks, probably a couple of weeks away from being fully fit. I think that again in the press he was quite impressive. Rob Apter on the other side I thought was excellent, was doubled up pretty much the entire game. It was interesting how we did basically become a front three. When attacking, we were trying to sort of spread Bristol City out a little bit, sort of move Tyrese Campbell out to the left. Rob Apter goes basically to right wing, and then you trust Kane Ramsey to sort of defend sort of the overloads as it comes back. And Kane Ramsey was absolutely exceptional, really throughout the game. I've got a thing from Samuel here. How did Doc do? I thought Doc was okay in the second half. First half again, I still sort of maintain that concern over technical ability in the middle of the park. I think that's the one position where if you don't have the required technical sort of ability, it can come back to really sort of bite you. First half, I don't think on the ball Doherty was very good. Off the ball, he was okay. Made a couple of tackles. Positioning was all right. Second half, I thought he improved. I still don't think he was a world beater, but I'm not sure in a Nathan Jones system you need to be a world beater necessarily. I think it's just don't make mistakes. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize anybody yesterday. I don't think anyone was particularly bad. I mean, Kaminsky really could have sat in a sun lounger the entire game. He faced almost nothing. One shot in the first half, which is a deceptively difficult stop. It sort of swerved a little bit, but you fully expect a goalkeeper that you paid £900,000 for to be able to get there quite comfortably, and he did. Josh Edwards had a moment in the first half where the player sort of comes across and the ball goes over his head and it beats him. But he didn't repeat that. It happened once. He sort of shut up shop from that point. It's a little bit worrying he's now gone off 2 games in a row. That is something I think to pay attention to, and I think it does sort of highlight at those wing-back slots how little cover we have. I know Maribel can go and play there, but against the better sides, and I know Bristol City are a really good side, but against sides that have a lot of pace on the wings, I think you might run into a bit of an issue. I think looking at that Leicester game that's coming up on Saturday. I know they lost to Preston yesterday, but you look on the wings of Madavidi. What's the other lad's name? That will come to me. He's Ghanaian, I think. It'll come to me. Anyway, we'll talk about that sort of more in the middle of the week when we do the preview. But when you look at that level of pace, that's when you probably don't want Amari Bell playing out there, and you sort of need Josh Edwards to be back. I think that, yeah, I mean, yesterday no one was particularly poor. I mean, I didn't notice Connor Coventry. That's a good thing, right, from my DM. Right, just in shape, in position, a number of tackles, couple of nice passes, nothing mind blowing. I thought the only two players really that had moments where, oh my goodness, was Kane Ramsey, who was absolutely fantastic. I've seen a lot of comments about, can we hold on to him? I think in this window, absolutely. I don't think there's too much worry about him going anywhere. I think anyone that's sort of, heard about him knows he's quite happy. And Nathan Jones done an excellent job sort of coaching him, taking that really raw talent, which was exceptional. When we sort of asked the question, how do you end up at Harrogate? Part of it was injuries. He had some injuries at his time in Southampton, and part of it was that he had all the attributes, but he was quite raw. Right, and quite often those players end up dropping down a couple of divisions to sort of, because coaches don't have the time to spend on players that are that raw, the upper levels, right? Because you're so focused on trying to keep your job. Nathan's really coached Kane Ramsey. I think if you compare his performances sort of even at the end of that first season when he joined to now, I mean, it's night and day, absolutely night and day. And all credit to Kane for that, all credit to Nathan for that sort of improvement. But I think a lot of people are saying, oh, what if we get a big bid from a Premier League side? I don't think so at the moment. I still think there's some development for Kane to do. I think, especially on the ball, at times in terms of some of his passing can be a little bit wayward. And I think in the Premier League, you get absolutely slaughtered for that. I think anyone that sort of turned the Premier League on since Friday night, you can see, right? You get the ball away, or you don't drive properly and you take a heavy touch. In League One, you can get away with it. In the Championship, you can get away with it a lot of the time. In the Premier League, you get absolutely slaughtered. And I think that there'll be enough Premier League sides probably, if they are interested in a player like that, who sit there and go, do I want to wait and sort of see if the development continues? And Kane's still young, relatively. I got corrected by CFC Stats on Twitter. Fair play to him. He does this quite often when I get things factually wrong. Where I thought he'd signed a 4.5-year contract when he signed Kane, he signed a 3.5, so it does end. Yeah, Samuel, I mean, you're saying it here. Ramsey isn't out of contract. He doesn't run out of contract. It's not next summer, it's the summer after. I'd be intrigued as to whether there's a club option in there. We've done this before. There was an option in Lee Burn's contract. There is an option in TC's contract. There's been options in other contracts we just haven't announced. We've announced the original deal, which can be quite frustrating. But I think that's the club sort of maintaining a bit of control. You don't want to say there's a club option on a player if you don't have to, but it can be quite confusing. I have asked sort of those more in the know than I am, whether they think whether that option exists. And I guess we'll find out now that certain members of the hierarchy have left. It's hard to kind of get that information. But yeah, I mean, going back to it, I don't think anyone was particularly bad yesterday. I liked Miles when he came on. I thought he put a real emphasis, real focal point up front, and Nathan Jones turned him into a bit of a pressing monster, which was not something that I thought I would see from Miles. But I think that there's a sharpness to him, which I'm really liking what I've seen. I thought there was a sharpness to him against Stevenage. He came up blowing at the end of about an hour. Couldn't run much more, but I want to see that from Miles. I want to see him sort of busting a gut, and I think you're really starting to see that. And that's not to say he wasn't trying before, because he obviously was. But I think sometimes you just need someone to coach that sort of positioning into you. This is where you need to be. This is where you need to be. This is where you need to be. And I think that the combination of Danny Hilton and the coaching staff and the squad and Curtis Fleming as well, who I know focuses a lot on that sort of positioning, as well as Nathan's own coaching, has helped him out there. Probably my only surprise, we haven't seen Rankin Costello at all in the Championship, which is a very interesting thing. I thought he was good against Stevenage, as I said in the pre-match for this game. But yeah, I mean, that's a surprise to me. This was very much a game for Anderson, to be fair, right? When we sort of realised, okay, we're probably going to settle for a point here. I know Nathan doesn't like admitting that, but we were. You bring Corey Anderson on to kind of break games up, and I thought he did well again on the corner and the free kick that they had. And this is going to be his job this season, right? As you sort of try to develop him on the ball a little bit. I thought Gillespie was good when he came on as well, right? I had to deal with two quite difficult balls into the box. Both were dealt with, one by Lloyd Jones, I think, one by, I want to say it was Macca himself. But I thought he was okay when he came on, right? And I think he's been okay both times he's come on. So I think you're seeing there is depth in the squad in certain positions. I think probably looking at it, I would imagine Zach Mitchell will go out on loan. I think the more we're starting to see. We've already seen Gas go off to Stevenage and score yesterday. I have no problems with that. If you like to keep scoring at that level, hopefully somebody will buy him offers in the summer. Although by the sounds of it, we had to really convince him to go. So I'm wondering whether he thinks there's still a future here, which would surprise me. But never say never with a loan player. Keane Dixon's basically was good for Crawley as well. That's good to hear. I really like that move for him to go and be with a coach like Lindsay, I think is a really excellent manager, especially for that level, and will really bring some sort of tactical discipline into his game. A comment here. Who else would I send out on loan? I think Zach's a pretty obvious one for me. Carnu's an interesting one, but I think we're a little bit stuck there because I think with Godden's injury makes that difficult. Going on to actually, the other part that surprised me was the fact that we didn't see Lou Berry yesterday in a 0-0 game, because that is like Nathan Jones's comfort blanket. Come on and Cam. But, I think Harvey Nibbs has to come on, and I think Kerry's been good enough. That's not going to happen. I'm trying to think of the other youngsters. I mean, Fuller I want to keep around. I want to keep him around the first team. Even Mwamba I want to keep around. If we exit the League Cup on Tuesday not this week, coming next week, then maybe have a look at one of those and say, actually, go get some regular game time. But I don't think there's anyone, could you look at an Alex Mitchell? I don't think you would. I think especially when you're playing the three centre-backs, that's a bit risky. So I think that we did a good job getting some players out on loan, and I think that you're starting to see that squad that we saw on Saturday, other than when Matty Godden comes back, that pretty much will be the squad, I think, going forward. I wonder if they're still going to go and have a look at those wing-back spots. Again, I'm just not sure if Josh Edwards picks up an injury, whether I want Amari Bell playing there longer term. And then it brings you have to bring Macca in, and then you're into, Alex Mitchell's your backup centre-back, and it becomes a bit of a challenge. But I'd be interested to see if there's any plans to change that. But yeah, I mean, I think yesterday, I think we saw the best of Kane. I think we saw Lloyd Jones was excellent. For those that say I haven't given him credit, I think he was absolutely excellent yesterday. Won pretty much everything that came in the box, as he does. Thought Murray Bell was good, right? Very little going down his side. I thought he was comfortable on the ball again, right? And I think looks a little bit ridiculous now. The Luton fans saying that's a League One quality player. I think what we're seeing, and I've said this all the time. I said the same thing about Kaminsky, is that Luton team had no centre backs. Like, it's hard to defend when you don't have any centre backs fit, and that's what we saw. Probably the only thing, and I guess this does go into the summer recruitment, is the worries over Reece Burke. I think are very true. I mean, he's already missed. Was it 5 of 6 games or something? He could have been available for. So that's a little bit, disappointing. But I don't know how much action we're actually going to get from him. There wasn't a huge amount of action actually in the game. I think we could have played for another 3 hours, and I'm not sure. I think we would have been the one most likely to score, but I don't think anyone really would have taken a chance. I think it was pretty destined for a 0-0 after Vitek made that wonder save in the second half. I think you can see that from the XG there. If we get right, 0.89 for us, 0.84 for them. We started out before, then they hit the woodwork, and we had one that was a wonder save. They had more possession. I think that's going to be true pretty much anywhere we go this season. We're going to lose the possession battle, but I think that's going to be intentional. They had more shots, but again, only one, maybe 2. There was one that went wide in the first half with any real concern. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that there was much in that game that worried you. I think, again, concerns that people may have over Kane Ramsey's future, I think that is a real challenge for us. The question will be, hey, do you pony up the money for him and say, hey, we'll keep you and make you, potentially the highest player in the squad? I don't know if you're going to do that. How much does that affect the dressing room? This, that, and the other. I think it's interesting he posts the highlights after games, especially after wins. I'd be interested to know why he does that. I think I mean, if you ever sort of spent 2 minutes with Kane, you sort of know that he's quite he's a very happy guy. He's very confident, and that's a really good thing. So I wonder if some people probably think he's putting it out as a feel to other clubs, but other clubs have scouts anyway, right? I think that, and we'll talk about this more in the midweek. I'm not going to go on for very long here. I'm probably going to think about a 20-minute episode because one, I want to go and watch the rest of Super Sunday, and two, it was a 0-0 draw, right? There isn't a heck of a lot to talk about. I was actually quite impressed that Charlton I've got an hour and 5 minutes of it this morning. There's 4 of them and only 1 of me. So I think the Chronicles have an episode tonight at 8 o'clock or something. Go watch that. I was chatting to Emma yesterday. Well worth a listen. They've got some exciting stuff coming up. But yeah, I think it's an excellent point. I think anyone that listened to my preview knows that I didn't think that we were going to get a point out of that game particularly. And not only did we get a point, but we really should have won it if he hadn't made a great save. We've got one here. Is Harvey Nibbs for Doc inevitable? Is he ready to start next week or too soon fitness-wise? I don't know where he wants to play Harvey Nibbs, and I think this is going to be the question. I think Costello's probably more the Doc competition. I think Nibbs is being seen as a 10. I think at the moment, with Sonny Kerry playing the way that he is, I think you can get away with easing Nibbs in. I don't think it's going to be very long before Harvey Nibbs actually starts games. Again, he crashed late into the box. Actually, I forgot about that. He crashed late into the box. The shot did get blocked. Go just wide. So yeah, there's a really great, there's a really good player in there. I'm really excited by what I've seen. He reminds me a little bit of Luke Berry in that sort of crash the box quite late, good finisher sort of mould. I think I just mentioned it before that Leicester game. I think this is an excellent point. If you can get a point against Leicester, if you get 2 points out of these 2 games, I think you're doing really well. And I think there's enough in that sort of Leicester sort of self-doubt. Like they lost at Huddersfield in the Cup. They've just lost to a not great Preston side. Right? It's a decent Preston team, I think. I have them sort of in the relegation battle, but I don't think they're a terrible Championship side by any stretch. I don't think they're easy to play against. Obviously they took Thierry Small offers. They've got Osmajic up front, who's an excellent striker. But I think looking at it in terms of, I think there's enough maybe self-doubt in that Leicester team that if we get on top of them early, and there'll be opportunities for us, but we can't go too gung-ho because that they have so much pace, especially on the wings. And we've really got to watch that. But do I make any changes? I've always been on the side of, look, if Miles Lewin is fit, I'd start him. I know that's not everybody's opinion, but personally, I just think that there's too much talent not to play him. I also understand the idea that actually we need to give Callum time to get up to speed. My only thing with that is that I look at it, but then when Matty Gon comes back in a couple of weeks' time, we then got to give him another couple of weeks to get up to speed. So I think that we've got to be a little bit careful. I think the leash has to be a little bit tighter than I think some people want it to be. I still think Callum will come good. I have no issues with that signing whatsoever. I made a post about Richard Kone, and that's just because I think Kone is a slightly higher ceiling than Callum because of what he can do outside the box. I think Callum's very much an in the 18-yard finisher, and that works for us because that's basically what Matty Godden is. So he's learning from the best. But I think with Callum at the moment we can give him time because the results are good, right? The question is if the results fall off a little bit, can you still maintain that patience? But we will see. Finally, I just want to give a shout out, fair play to Bristol City. The concession stand was actually okay. We're able to get in reasonably quickly, unlike at the Valley at the moment. And I'm sure we'll have the conversation about it after the directors' meeting. I think we saw Gavin Carter seem quite annoyed about what had happened. It has been getting progressively worse. I do think that contract with Gather and Gather, which I think ends if it's not this summer, it's the summer after. I think they really genuinely need to consider what the buyout is, how they get out of this, because at the moment it's not good enough. Not good enough. And when you go to away ends like Bristol City, where it went relatively quickly, at staff who were quite attentive, who were, trying to get you through. So saw that away end, there was about 7 workers, right? Like, and they were getting through quite quickly. And that was all poured pints. So that wasn't it wasn't all in bottles or cans or anything. That was poured pints. And they did a good job with that. So I think this is something to watch at the club more broadly. But yeah, we'll chat about Leicester sort of midweek. I just wanted to come on, do a really quick sort of review. As I say, it's a 0-0. There's not going to be loads to talk about. We were defensively solid. We're an Nathan Jones side, of course we're going to be defensively solid. But the real thing is we look competitive at this level, and that's really, really important, right? We look like we're competing. We can compete at the level. I think the more I'm seeing, the more remind me of sort of Nathan Jones at Luton rather than Nathan Jones at Stoke or Southampton, and I think that's the exciting thing. And also seeing Nathan Jones look quite relaxed in that press in the interview afterwards. I think he was very happy with the performance. And that's a battling point. It's a point I don't expect us to have if you ask me to go through the list of fixtures, and that wasn't one where I would have put anything other than a 0. So to get a point, I think is excellent work. It's how many points can we stack up before we have a bad patch. I think that's going to be really, really important. I think, to be fair, these next two are, with Leicester where they are, it's an excellent side, don't get me wrong. If they beat us 3-0, it wouldn't shock me. But having seen them the last couple of games, that's a winnable game, I think. Right? That's a winnable game, I think, against Leicester. I don't think Cifuentes' methods have necessarily baked in yet. And then QPR, I think that's another one. Right? And before that game, I will have a moan about the £40 tickets because it's absolutely ridiculous. But we'll talk about that later on. Note if I get a QPR fan on, I'll ask them that question because I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Charge £40 for a game in the second tier. I think it's £40 for any tier is ridiculous. But we are where we are with football at the moment. So I will see you guys probably Wednesday 7 o'clock. I think is going to be the time when I can do it. See if I can get a Leicester fan on, chat ahead of that game. But an excellent point for the Addicts. A game that we probably deserve something more out of, but one where we will very happily take the point. All right, everybody. I will see you on Wednesday.